Thanks for the 3,000 likes on the previous videos, and I hope this video also reaches that. And thanks to everyone who supported the channel financially. With an evil smile, Ryu said, however, that doesn't mean there's no solution. And he went ahead and removed one of Ju Sung-tak's legs. Then he applied first aid with only one arm and one leg remaining. Then Ryu said, I used it on his eyes so when he awakens his vision should return. And Ju Sung-tak was now missing one arm and one leg. And Ryu added, by making his real body disabled, he won't be able to commit murder recklessly. Anyway, what I need is a body in the other world capable of gathering items. And even if I turn Ju Sung-tak into a disabled individual, his avatar in the other world would remain unaffected. Of course, since he saw Ryu face, he'll probably attempt revenge when he wakes up. But there was no issue with that. The face Ryu had revealed belonged to the deceased Hwang Yong-min. Then Ryu smiled and said, now I can depart without concern. After some time, Ju Sung-tak's eyes fluttered open as he regained consciousness, his senses slowly returning to him, and his vision went from a blurry haze to a clear focus. And he asked himself, what's going on? Was that all just a dream? And what a fucking dream, man, that shit was so real. In that dream, he had attempted to murder a buyer but ended up on the receiving end of a brutal retaliation. It was a terrifying experience to face an opponent who was immune to his fear skill. Then he said, well, it doesn't matter. It was just a dream, right? And he shook his head, trying to shake off these bad scenes, and began to assess his surroundings. The place looked oddly familiar. Then he inquired, where am I? To his surprise, he found himself inside the second-floor building he had prepared as his escape route, and asked himself, ugh, so it wasn't all a dream? Then he attempted to stand up, placing his hand on the floor. But he noticed that his arm is missing and asked, huh? Where's my arm? At that moment, he remembered everything and said, that buyer cut off my arm. But his loss extended beyond just his arm. And when he realized that he also lost his leg, he shouted, ugh, fuck my leg! And confusion, frustration, anger, and an overwhelming sense of emptiness washed over him all at once. He desperately wanted to scream, but it felt like his throat was blocked. Then he said, where are you? Where are you, you damn bastard? Now he was sure this wasn't a dream. It was painfully real. And his anger surged beyond words, filling the void left by his lost limbs, and said, where are you, you miserable fucking insect-like scumbag? Then he frantically searched for the person who had reduced him to this state, and shouted, buyer, you bastard! I wouldn't mind tearing you apart! Get out! And Ju Sung-tak tried to get up with bloodshot eyes, but due to the missing leg, even that was not easy. And he said angrily, did this damn son of a bitch make me like this? I'll definitely kill. At that moment, Ju Sung-tak's eyes fell on a neatly folded piece of paper on the ground. When he unfolded it, he found a lengthy letter written in dense handwriting. Your name is Ju Sung-tak, right? I checked your ID. Your address is written on the back. Do you really think it's my fault that you lost your leg? That's your doing, you bastard. Why did you hide a bomb in the clothing collection bin? Were you trying to kill me with that? Honestly, I was so pissed that I wanted to kill you, but since you're missing both arms and legs, I'm just letting you live. Who in the world treats the guy who was trying to rob them and even gives them medical treatment? Consider yourself lucky. Live a good life instead of trying to rob people. I know your name and address, so don't cause trouble for no reason. If you do, you'll really die. After reading the message, Ju Sung-tak inquired, what is this? What happened to my leg is the result of the body explosion. Suddenly, a wave of helplessness washed over him. To fall into his own trap, it was a bitter realization. Then he asked himself, but does this guy usually carry paper and a pen, leaving a letter behind? And he quickly searched his pockets. But his wallet, containing his ID, had disappeared. So he shouted, damn it! My entire savings were in there. He took away up to 300,000 won in cash. And what a fuck. Asking people to live a good life, then he robs others? This scumbag. He must have thought I was a joke, huh? And even if Ju Sung-tak blamed himself for his missing leg, it was evident that the buyer was responsible for his missing arm. And he had more than enough reason to bear a grudge. Because not only did the buyer take his item and wallet, but he also took away his arm and leg. Ju Sung-tak couldn't let go of his anger and frustration, and said, damn it, and he shouted so loudly that it echoed through the building, I'll kill him, I'll definitely kill him, even if I lose my life trying to. Ju Sung-tak remembered every detail about the buyer. his face, and voice. Although the buyer was undoubtedly strong, Ju Sung-taek was confident he could win in a rematch, and he said if only the body explosion had struck him and thought he had lost due to bad luck. Then he limped out of the building, unaware that the person he had been searching for was invisibly watching his every move. Ryu couldn't help but smile as he read Ju Sung-taek's thoughts from behind, and he said to himself, "It looks like he's planning to get back at me. Just as I expected. After all, severing someone's limbs tends to brew resentment. But realistically, what can he do in his current state?" Then Ryu smiled confidently and said, could he seek revenge when he could hardly walk, especially when his opponent is me, and there's no way he'd stand a chance if we were to face off again. Then he asked himself, could he have won if he had utilized the body explosion technique more effectively? Ryu answered himself, honestly, I wasn't even bothered by that skill. While the fear curse could be considered a potential threat, but it didn't appear overly menacing. After all, I have an 82% resistance to it. The fact that the fear curse was nullified earlier was due to this resistance. Although it's not 100%, Ryu wasn't overly concerned, because resistance reduces the duration of the fear curse by the same percentage. Normally, the fear curse lasted for 5 seconds. With an 82% resistance, it would only last for 0.9 seconds. In other words, even if he had an 18% chance of being affected by fear, it would only last for about a second. Then Ryu said, 1 second is enough to lose a life, but not in front of this guy. He was so careless. And he smiled and added, anyway, despite reaching this point, he still wants to take revenge on me. He's got some spirit. And with that desire for revenge, he would make a name of himself. If he has any items, he would immediately list them on the market. This will benefit me, too. He may not be in the best physical condition, but he still needs to earn a living, right? After that, Rao left the place and headed home. And before the start of the 7th round, Ryu and Min Juri sat down for a meal. Ryu inquired, isn't the food here at this Korean restaurant delicious? Min Juri replied, yeah, it's the best I've had. Ryu smiled and said, I'm glad you like it. Let's come here often. She inquired, often? In fact, there wasn't any deeper meaning to Ryu's words, but Minjuri seemed to interpret them differently, contemplating their significance. Ryu quickly clarified, not often, just occasionally. Minjuri appeared somewhat disappointed and said, oh, I see. Then she asked, by the way, Min, you've seemed busy lately, haven't you? Every time we talk, you say we'll meet later. Ryu replied, oh, there's been some stuff. Ryu brushed it off casually. He indeed had been busy, attending Heaven Cafe meetings every weekend and Player Place meetings as the top executive. Additionally, he had to be vigilant about being tailed. He knew that even at this moment, there were eyes watching him. He had already identified the person, and he said to himself, Jeffrey Bishop, a level 28 assassin, and the mastermind behind it all is Nathan Watson, Christine's father. At first, Ryu didn't realize he was being followed because they had the invisibility skill. But he eventually figured it out using his perception skill, as someone had been tracking him for several days. And he added, I don't think they've learned the perception skill. If they had, I wouldn't have been able to follow him. If he had known that invisibility can be detected by the perception skill, he would have followed from a distance in the first place. And Ryu could also discern their intentions by reading their thoughts. It wasn't for assassination or some other grand purpose, but simply for information gathering. Then he said to himself, Christine must have told her father about me. That's why Nathan felt uncomfortable. Imagine if someone predicted that your daughter would die in the 11th round. Even Ryu, like anyone else, would want to confirm the truth by visiting the fortune teller. And he added, well, unless they reveal their purpose, there's no reason to confront them. Just let them keep tailing you. In their eyes, you'll appear as an ordinary executive, shuttling between your company and home. Despite having weekend commitments to Heaven Cafe meetings, he was confident he wouldn't be exposed as long as he knew about the tailing. Minjuri interrupted his thoughts and said, but Min, about the 7th round information you told me last time. Ryu inquired, what about it? She asked, is that all? I just need to remember these words? Ryu replied, yeah, just remember that. All you needed to know about the 7th round was that one thing. And he said to himself, sharing more information than that would be unnecessary, and if I reveal the quest, they'll be eliminated from the round, and it's better to save as many people as possible. I need at least 5 people to make it to the final round. Of course, only those worth saving should be saved. Then he said, Juri, She inquired. Yeah? Ryu smiled and said, let's survive until the final round. It was an unexpected statement, but Min Juri shyly responded with a smile and said, yeah, midnight on Winters, July 2022. The 7th round had begun. Guys, don't forget, like, subscribe and support the channel financially.